Hey, and welcome to another edition of the Digital Plantation podcast. Why do we call it the Digital Plantation? Because, of course, the internet is one big plantation. I don't know if you realize that or not, but it is. Okay, so anyway, welcome again, and I'm so glad to be here, and so glad that you are here with me today. So today we're going to talk about two items here. The first item we're going to get into is this whole Trump indictment. What does that mean? And what is that? Is this just gamership? Is this just a whatever? Is it a stage play? Or is there something that we should be really worried about? And then later on, then we're going to get into talking about this whole recent affair that has taken place in down in Tennessee. But it's not just in Tennessee. There's many other places we're seeing this whole thing play out, and that is this whole transgender agenda. And then we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to get into what really is driving this thing. Okay, so again, so glad that you guys can join us on. This is a podcast that we do exclusively here on YouTube, and you can check us out here if you go to our main YouTube page, and that's Journeyman and Woman. And on the very front of the page, there's a whole section there that we have there called Digital Plantation. I'm going to add Digital Plantation Podcast to make sure that people are aware of the fact that this is a podcast that we have. But this is certainly not the only podcast that we have. We also do a broadcast over on WONIRadio.com. You could check us out over there. And that's a broadcast that we do it comes out every other Friday, but sometimes like the ones that I'm not doing an actual broadcast, he'll replay one. So that's on WONIRadio.com. And then now we have this one. Okay. And then of course, we do our off plantation radio, broadcast that we do, and we do that. And the reason why we call that off plantation, because we do that over on primarily on our video platform that we have, and that is mybondtube.com. Again, it's mybondtube.com. You can check that out when you get a chance, and that's where we can talk about things that the plantation owners won't allow us to talk about here. So, okay, let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm sure you've heard by now that the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, has been indicted. What in the world is that going to mean, and what does that translate as? And as I was kind of hinting at the beginning here, it is a stage play, family. If you haven't figured that out by now, I mean, come on. I mean, there is so much that is happening all at the same time, right now with this whole, you had the shooting took place. You got the impending war that's happening, or the war that's been happening over in Ukraine. You had the Epstein stuff coming out. So it's like you don't know if you're coming or going based on the stuff that's been happening as of late. But it's all by design, family. I'm going to play for you just this short clip. This is from Alan Dershowitz, and we're going to listen to what he has to say on this and what his thoughts are on this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about this, and we'll get into it in just a moment. Okay, so let's take a listen to what he has to say on this.
I think the most important thing is they indicted him when he was out of New York, and that means they could have indicted him within the statute of limitations when he was out of New York. Statute of limitations is way expired. They claim they couldn't have indicted him because he was outside of New York, but now they've indicted him when he's not in New York. So they've made a foolish decision, which will cause the case to be thrown out, I think, on statute of limitations grounds.
And so if you're his lawyer right now, what do you make a motion now? Do you wait until the process gets a little bit further? What is the next step?
You make a motion immediately to dismiss on statute of limitations grounds and on the grounds that the alleged crime doesn't fit the misdemeanor or the felony. Now, I haven't seen the indictment, obviously, so I'm talking in general terms. But in general terms, you make a motion to dismiss on both statutory grounds and statute of limitations grounds. And the statute of limitations grounds should prevail. Now, the New York Court of Appeals has had very negative rulings on that, so it's impossible to predict what will happen.
Now, I think what's so strange to me about this is because very recently, I don't know, for those of you who have been kind of halfway following this like I've been, What I find to be very interesting about this is that very recently they came out saying that this so-called letter, it was a letter that his Michael Cohen, I believe, who was his representative at one time, legal representative, supposedly had a letter that basically showed that Trump did not pay any hush money, towards this woman. But apparently, and they were like, okay, that's the nail in the coffin. Nothing's going to happen now. Now, all of a sudden, they're saying that apparently that wasn't enough. So you really don't even know if you're coming or going with this story here. Now, he did bring out something interesting, and that is the fact that they could have done this, he said, when he was in New York, but they didn't do it. They waited till he was outside of New York. So, it's the timing of it. You always got to pay attention to the timing of things. Why is it happening? Anytime you hear stories like this, because according to historians, they're saying this is the first time in American history that a president or former president has been indicted. Now, again, what's hilarious to me about this, you got Biden right now where literally they got a whole laptop of all kinds of things that he had known his son was engaged in. And not only his son was engaged in it, Biden was engaged into it as well. Biden Sr. He was engaged with it as well. They got all of this red-handed right there. And apparently they just keep right on pushing. And it's just, like I said, again, it's a show at the end of the day. For us as a people, is important not to so much put a lot of attention on this. We do need to talk about it, but make sure you understand that all of this is a distraction for things that are really happening, behind the scenes. And, who knows what's that next thing is. On this platform, we always tell people, hey, make sure, as far as your money's concerned, make sure you have some extra money put to the side, cash money put to the side, creating and building your own real networks of real people. I ain't talking about people in the chat or in the comment section of your favorite social media platform. I'm talking about real connections with real people, so that if the bottom does fall out, and eventually it will, you do have your own support system that you can lean on, when all of that, because it's going to be very disorienting for many people, because many people are just so invested in the drama of this whole thing, as far as Trump is concerned. The other thing I would say too is, keep your head on the swivel too, because you got a lot of people in this country that love themselves some Trump. And they ain't just regular people too. You got a lot of people in the military, and you got a lot of people in the police as well that love themselves some Trump. And if they were to carry this thing through, oh no, it's going to be a whole nother situation. It's going to be a whole nother situation. And that's what they want. It's like they're right now. These people are really trying to push for just a whole, like a crash of crashes, on the social front, on the political front, and in the military front. It's like they're just trying to have all of this stuff crash all at the same time, at the same intersection. And that's why I said, pay attention to these things, but don't get so involved in it to where you're getting lost and you're not taking care of home base. That's where our focus is making sure that our people are taking care of home base and taking care of the basics, because I'm going to tell you right now, this whole Trump thing, again, we don't know how this is going to play out, but rest assured, they're definitely going to stretch it out as long as they possibly can, because that's just what they do, at the end of the day. And so, but yeah, I just wanted to touch bases on that. We'll still keep our eyes on it, family, but at the end of the day, family, it's absolutely not. It's definitely set up to be a distraction, but it is something that we got to be aware of, because like I said, again, if this thing goes any further, if they keep pushing this, January the 6th was just a precursor to things to come. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And then when we return, we're going to get back we're going to talk about this other topic here of this whole transgendered agenda and the other level to it, that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. You're listening to The Digital Plantation. I'll be right back after this message. You know, I noticed that because with black soap,
Yeah.
if you use black soap, it it definitely is going to clean you up, but it's also in a minute, next thing you know, I'm like, dang, I just got out the shower. Why am I actually all, because it dries your skin, at least in my experience.
Well, let me tell you about that really quickly though. Black soap, African black soap is a balancer. Okay. So it balances the oils in your skin. So if you have oily skin, it's going to balance that out. All right. If you have dry skin, it's going to balance that out. It's a balancer. It's also great for hyperpigmentation as well. So the more you use black soap and your skin becomes balanced, it doesn't have that effect on your skin anymore. Yeah. But most people, when they start with black soap, they stop automatically because it's drying. But it's a balancer if you keep using it.
Okay. And that's where you can find it. You can go right to here we go. You can go to sambatree.com. Sambatree.com, and we're actually running a I don't even know if it's a special. I would say it's a special for the people, who have been shopping there, and we really are grateful and appreciative of that. Again, sambatree.com, SAMBA tree.com. And we're selling things in bulk, and black soap is one of the things. You can save up to 40% off a black soap, and we have it right there in stock. You can check that out amongst a lot of other things that we are carrying, not just in singular orders, but if you need to order things in bulk, well, we're taking care of you. Again, go to sambatree.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome back to Digital Plantation. And let's go ahead and get back into this, family. So the other thing I want to touch on, too, is this whole thing. As you know by now, you got this, there's this unfortunate shooting that took place down in Tennessee, of a transgendered individual, a person identifying as a woman. In fact, it's interesting how this story first came out. When it first came out, they said it was a woman. Then they said, no, back up. First, they said it was a student. Then they said it was a woman. Then later on, then they came out and said, okay, it's a transgendered woman. And then you go, that don't open up a whole, can of whatever, on that front, And so what was very interesting to me is, I don't know if you guys heard this or not. This is coming from the White House. I want you to listen to this. This is the White House. This is the White House's reaction, or what they're saying is their response to this tragedy that took place down in Tennessee. Take a listen to the press secretary of the White House.
One of the things that we saw during the midterm elections is that people don't want their freedoms to be taken. They want us to fight for their freedoms. And so it is shameful, it is disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now. And one of the things that we saw.
Hey, hold on now. So she said they under attack right now. Our hearts go out to them because they are under attack right now. Now, wait a minute now. Who's doing the math on that one? That don't make any sense, does it? They are under attack. Well, there were several stories that I touched on this on our community page. Let me see if I can bring that up for you right quick here. This is on our community page, and we posted this. These latest shootings that have taken place, these mass shootings. Let's see. We have the Colorado Springs shooter was identified as a non-binary person. The Denver shooter, they identified as a trans person. And then the Aberdeen shooter also identified as a trans person. So hold on for a second. They are under attack. What are you talking about? But this is what they're putting out here. Now, here's another person. Now, this is another trans person. This is a black man. This man just is dusty looking as I don't know what. Bro, on no universe would you pass as a woman. I'm sorry. Maybe in this universe, I guess, but no. So I want you to listen to, we ain't gonna play the whole thing, but I want you to listen to, this love and concern that this transgendered person is putting out.
Trans people in Tennessee, it's time to fucking fight. Trans allies in Tennessee, it's time to fucking fight. Trans women, if they lock you up for identifying as a woman, fight, resist. You're gonna die anyways. We're going to die anyways. It's time to fucking resist. Fight them. Hurt them. If they put their hands on you, beat them. We are at an attack. It's time to fight back. Do you hear me? Trans people in Tennessee, trans men, trans women, non-binary, fight! If they try to arrest you or have you arrested on a felony for existing, beat them.
Anyway, so it goes on. This individual just goes on with all of this stuff here. And then you got shirts and all that saying that basically, what was the shirt? It said something to the effect, because I posted that on there too, on our community page here. There's where is it here? It's right here. It says protect trans kids. There's one that says trans rights or else. And then they got guns all on it. Oh, yeah. And it gets even interesting than that, more interesting than that. Amazon, up until this shooting, was carrying a shirt with that on there. Oh, yeah, I got an image of that. I'll post that on our community page soon. This was Amazon. I'm the Amazon. It was a shirt that says trans rights or else. And there's a picture of all kinds of assault rifles on there. Now, these people have been telling you straight up what they're about and what they and the life they really about if they don't get their way. And you imagine black folks doing some kind of stuff, give us black rights or we going to start shooting up the schools. You imagine what the response would be if that was the case? I mean, we putting it all on shirts and everything. Now, what we have said and we'll continue to say on this platform is that when you're dealing with the LGBT, when you're talking about that space, now, first of all, mental illness is something that goes across whatever. I don't care what race. I don't care what gender you pick or whatever. Well, if you're talking about you a different gender other than male and female, you already on some stuff anyway. But I want to be very clear when it comes to mental illness. I would say mental and spiritual illness. It's not limited to just LGBT. I want to be very clear with that. But make no mistake about it. In this particular case, when you're dealing with individuals who are claiming to be something that biologically they cannot be unless they go under a knife, there is something psychologically and spiritually that's off with that. And this society is promoting that. Now, as I was just saying just recently, I was saying, you ain't crazy and I ain't crazy. And it's interesting that this whole transgender thing it's not new. It's new, but what's new is that how they're really pushing this thing to, like this is the next thing and we got to fight for these people. Who would have saw it? Who had this on their bingo card, 7 years ago? I certainly didn't. Where this is really going to be taken that seriously, that we would have people a part of the president's staff that are men dressed like women. Who would have thought that would have going to happen? But it has happened and it's happening. So anyway, so here's the thing here. And this is what we talked about before. I posted this article. It's on our community page. If you want to understand why this is a thing, it's a thing because it's part of a much wider agenda. What is that agenda? The agenda is rooted in this belief that mankind, when man was created, he was created with two genders, male and female was it. And so man has a divine feminine and he has a divine masculine. Where does that come from? It comes from Judaism. That's a Judaic teaching, and it comes out of Genesis chapter 1, starting at verse 26 and going to verse 27. If you read that, I don't have time to read it, but you read it yourself. It talks about how when man was created at that time, he created them. And it says both male and female, he created them, right? I may not have the quote exactly right on that, but read it yourself. And so for all this time, when we read that, we were thinking, oh, okay, this is just a precursor to what was going to happen in Genesis chapter 2. No, it's not. according to Judaism, what was transpiring there was that the Most High God was creating man and putting inside of him a divine feminine and a divine masculine. Now, I don't embrace that. I don't say that's truth for me. I don't. Okay. I'm just telling you the writers of that book, that's what they believed. And that's what they were conveying in that passage. All this time we were reading that thinking, oh, it's just precursor. No, that's what they were saying. Okay. That's really where that comes from. So you may get offended or get mad or whatever. I'm mad too. But that doesn't change what the writer's original intent was when they wrote that. But Judaism, once you start diving into Kabbalah teaching, start diving in the Talmudic teaching, they don't just believe in two sexes or two genders. They go up to 7 and 9 genders. In fact, the New York Times just recently on March the 18th published an article. The title of it says, Ancient Judaism recognized a range of genders. It's time we did too. Now, the New York Times ain't going to just put that out there just because, without running that across some reputable rabbis. No, they put that out there because that's exactly what they did. And this is exactly what's part of their teaching. So this is part of this transhumanism agenda that's taking place. And part of this humanism teaching or belief system, I should say, what's part of it is this belief that man was created as a bisexual person. Number 2, that now they're going to start bringing in a merging of man and machine or computers or, things like that, putting, chipping people and all this other stuff. So, when you see movies like I, Robot, for example, or some of these other movies out there where they're merging man with machine and all of that, that's part of the ultimate agenda, is to create something that is so unrecognizable from the natural way that God created us. That's the agenda, and it's rooted in Judaism. So when you see all of this stuff, it's part of a much wider agenda. It's not just a flavor of the week. It's not just something random. It's part of an agenda that is what actually is showing us is that they're a lot closer to their what they're really are trying to do here, and that is to bring as much confusion as possible. So we got to make sure that we're keeping our eyes on a much bigger picture and not getting so caught up in the just in the small discussions on there, but really looking at the much larger discussion on this. And that is, in this particular case, this is really part of the agenda and try to get you to accept it and make it part of you. But on this platform, no, sir. We're going to look at the way that God, the one that created heavens and earth and all the stars and all that, the way he looked at things, that's how we're going to look at it. And in nature itself, and all you got to do is look at nature. When's the last time you saw a deer or a panda walking around talking about, well, I'm a female, I'm going to be a female one day. Well, one day I'm going to be a male. You don't see animals doing that. Generally speaking, you don't see animals doing that. So if you want to know how the order of things are supposed to be, look at nature. But these people are everything but pro-nature. They are anti-nature. And doggone it, we're going to be calling that out on this platform. So thank you again for tuning in to Digital Plantation, because the internet is of in itself is a plantation, is a very crazy one at that. It's time we lead this plantation, right? Family, thank you so much. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time.